Okay, so for our very first technique video, although they aren't really in order necessarily, we are going to start with breathing, since that's usually how I start both in my own practice and with my private voice students. We always start first with our breathing. This video, I just want to cover the basics about kind of what breathing should look and feel like, and then I'll post some other shorts about breathing after this one that focus on specific stuff. So right off the bat, let's talk about what good singing breathing looks like. Well, what good singing breathing looks like is your most natural breath. So I heard a famous singer say recently that if you look at babies and the way that they cry, I mean, they can go on and on for hours, and they've got these big loud voices, and they're so tiny. Well, you can see their little bellies every time that they gear up for a big scream. You can see their whole lower belly is going, ah, and then they're letting it go, and they never seem to run out of steam, and they never seem to go hoarse. So the point that singer was making was our natural breath is that low belly breath where you breathe in and your belly puffs out, and then we let out our air and it goes back to our spine. That low breath is what we use as singers to really propel a sound that not only is going to be supported and healthy, but also is going to be resonant and loud if we need it to be. So my background is an opera singer, so I definitely had to sing over an entire orchestra and fill up a huge hall with, up to like maybe 1,000 people in it, and everyone needed to hear me. So as an opera singer, I definitely have trained my body to do a type of breathing that is really going to project. And so I will say that low belly breathing, though, it's important for anyone who wants to sing, because it's how we don't go hoarse. Just like that baby doesn't go hoarse while it's screaming its head off, it's being supported, it's doing all its yelling on the air. So we want to do our singing on our air. And what that means is that we're taking in air, and then we're expelling it with our sound on top of it, writing it. Right? There's totally a way to do it where you take in air that's really shallow and it doesn't support your voice, and it just becomes like it's sitting on you. I can't even give you a bad example of it because I've been doing it right for too long, but it just sounds like it's stuck. It's just like sitting right on top of your vocal cords. If you look at earlier videos that I've posted where we went through a whole song, you'll hear me talk also about the anatomy of what's going on here. And I'll just take a brief moment to describe. We have our larynx right here inside our necks. And then kind of sitting at the top of it, there's these two muscles that look like a V, but they're sitting this way. And they open and close, and those are the vocal cords or vocal folds. And they're really sensitive, so we gotta treat them nicely. And as air is coming up from here, they pass through, and they start to buzz with the air passing through and then coming out. And that buzz is what creates our personal voice. So just for this video, we're gonna cover, we've already covered that we have to have a low belly breath, and we're also gonna cover a few other things that you should be feeling to kind of check in, and things that you can do as you're just learning how to breathe correctly for singing to kind of check in. So one of the things you can do is take one hand and put it where your belly button is. Just behind that is your muscle called the diaphragm, which is helping you expand when you take your low belly breath. We're using our diaphragm to fill out. So you can put a hand on your belly, and then I like to put a hand on my lower rib cage. Just find your rib cage in the middle, and then it should be like you're just squeezing your side. And then put a hand there, because your rib cage expands while you're taking that low belly breath, so it's important to feel what's going on. So I tell my students on our first lessons just to take a breath with your hands in this position and feel what's happening. So take a breath. And out. And in. And out. What you should be feeling is expansion when you breathe in and contraction when you breathe out. So essentially you're breathing in, your belly puffs out, and then when you're letting the air back out, you feel as if there's a little string on your belly button being pulled back toward your spine, and everything's coming back in. And as we continue to work on our breathing, we work on not feeling that sense of collapse, like everything just going away as soon as you start breathing out, because we want to create something called breath control over time. And breath control just means that we have a controlled way of letting our air out that then can come through our voices, and we can sing longer phrases of music that are fully supported by our air, so we aren't getting any inside of our sound. It's fully supported. So breath support and breath control are two really important terms when we talk about breathing. So we're going to breathe again, and I want you to watch for that collapse feeling. Even better, if you want, if you're totally a novice, you can actually lay on the ground and feel the same things. And sometimes laying on the ground, you can more naturally access that low belly breath, because it's as if you're at rest, as if you're about to take a nap or something, and your body is going to more naturally breathe from that position rather than up here, which is what we don't want. So take a breath with me, and I want you to concentrate on the release as you're letting air out, what's happening in your body. So take a breath. We've puffed up, now breathe out. You should feel your belly contracting slowly back in, not all at once. If you feel your rib cage do this, and immediately close back down, you're letting all your air out too fast. And so those are something very simple that you can do right off the bat just to work on the slowness of release. So if you don't want to just breathe out, another great way to do it is breathe out on an S sound, so like this. And keep going until you are completely out of air. So I recommend that exercise for lots of novice singers who are just beginning, because it's a way to think about the control of your air. So that little sound, look at my mouth, super small mouth. I'm not like going really loud. I'm not letting a ton of air out, just the tiniest bit of air coming through on an S noise. So you can try that one at home and do that over several weeks. And I know that seems like a long time, but it does take quite a while for your body to start to recognize kind of what we're doing with it. We do have to train our bodies to do something that is natural, but in a controlled way, a way that we can use as singers. So that's a little bit a technique short for you on the basics of breathing and how you can kind of work towards feeling some control. And on future breathing videos, we'll get more into some nitty-gritty about some other things you can do, not only to work on the muscles that are down there, but also some things you can do to advance that skill of your breath control. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next video.